The champagne flute trembled in my hand as I stood in the marble foyer of the Castellanos' estate, watching the glittering crowd filter past me like I was invisible. Designer gowns brushed against my simple black dress, the most expensive thing I owned, purchased specifically for tonight. I'd thought it would help me blend in. I was wrong. Nervous. Marcus appeared at my elbow, his hand finding the small of my back with the casual possessiveness I'd grown accustomed to over the past 6 months. His touch used to make me feel safe. Now it just made my skin crawl, though I couldn't explain why. A little, I admitted, forcing a smile. I've never been to anything like this before. That was an understatement. The Castellanos' annual charity gala was legendary in Boston's elite circles, a world I'd only glimpsed from the outside until Marcus had swept into my life like a fairy tale come true. He was handsome, successful, attentive. Everything a girl working 2 jobs to pay off her dead father's medical debts could dream of. Too good to be true, my best friend Sophie had warned me. I should have listened. "You'll be fine," Marcus murmured, his lips brushing my ear. "Just stay close to me. And remember, don't wander off. Some of the people here, they're not as refined as they appear." There was something in his tone that made me glance up at him sharply, but his expression was smooth, unreadable. Before I could question him, a waiter appeared with a tray of champagne. Marcus plucked 2 glasses, pressing one into my hand. "To us," he said, raising his glass. "To us," I echoed, the bubbles bitter on my tongue. The evening passed in a blur of introductions I'd never remember, and conversations I couldn't quite follow. Marcus kept me close, his hand never leaving my waist, steering me through the crowd like I was a prize he'd won. And maybe I was. I'd certainly felt like one lately. Something pretty to display at dinners and events. To be seen, but not heard. It was nearly 11 when everything changed. Marcus excused himself to take a phone call, leaving me near the grand staircase with instructions not to move. I watched him disappear into the crowd, then let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. The champagne had left me lightheaded, or maybe it was the oppressive atmosphere of wealth and secrets that seemed to hang in the air like expensive perfume. I needed air. Ignoring Marcus's instructions, I slipped through a side door and found myself in a dimly lit corridor. The sounds of the party faded behind me as I walked, my heels clicking against marble floors. I passed oil paintings worth more than my annual salary, antique vases that probably belonged in museums, until I found a door slightly ajar at the end of the hall. That's when I heard Marcus's voice. "Told you she doesn't suspect anything. She's perfect for what you need." I froze, my hand on the doorframe. Every instinct screamed at me to walk away, but my feet wouldn't move. "And you're certain about her background?" Another voice, unfamiliar. Male, with an accent I couldn't place. "No family? No one who will ask questions?" "Her father died last year. No siblings, no mother in the picture. She's completely alone." Marcus's voice was cold, clinical. Nothing like the warmth he showed me. "The debts are substantial, over 200,000. She's desperate even if she doesn't show it." My blood turned to ice. Excellent. Papers rustled. "The buyer is willing to pay 300,000 for her. You'll receive your finder's fee once the transaction is complete. She'll be transported after the auction tonight." Auction, transaction, buyer. The words didn't make sense. Couldn't make sense. This was a charity gala, not... "She trusts me," Marcus continued, and I could hear the smile in his voice. "She'll go willingly if I ask. Makes things cleaner. Less fuss." "Good. Mr. Volkov appreciates discretion in these matters. Bring her to the East Wing in 20 minutes. The auction starts at midnight." My legs finally obeyed, carrying me backward, away from that door and the nightmare conversation behind it. My mind reeled. Marcus was selling me. actually selling me to someone named Volkov like I was property. The debts, the romance, the last 6 months, it had all been a lie. A setup. I had to get out. I ran back through the corridor, but when I burst through the door into the main hall, I collided hard with a wall of solid muscle. Strong hands caught my arms, steadying me. Careful, Piccola. I looked up and up, into the coldest eyes I'd ever seen. The man towering over me was dressed in an immaculate black suit that probably cost more than my car. His dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from granite. Sharp jaw, straight nose, full lips pressed into a hard line. He was beautiful in the way a blade was beautiful, all dangerous edges and lethal precision. I'm sorry, I tried to pull away, but his grip tightened. You're crying. He said it like he was noting the weather, his thumb brushing my cheek. I hadn't even realized tears were streaming down my face. His eyes narrowed, assessment sharpening into interest. What are you running from? Nothing. I need to go, please. My voice cracked, desperation bleeding through. He studied me for a long moment, those ice-chip eyes seeing far too much. Then his gaze flicked over my shoulder and something dark crossed his features. Your boyfriend is looking for you. I didn't turn around. I didn't need to. I could feel Marcus's presence behind me like a knife between my shoulder blades. Isabella! His voice was bright, cheerful, completely at odds with what I'd overheard. There you are. I've been looking everywhere. His hand closed around my upper arm, pulling me away from the stranger. Sorry about this. She's had too much champagne. I don't think she has. The stranger's voice was soft, almost gentle, but there was steel underneath. His eyes never left mine. She looks terrified. She's fine, Marcus insisted, his fingers digging into my arm hard enough to bruise. Come on, Isabella, time to go. This was it. My only chance. He's selling me, I blurted out, the words tumbling over each other. There's an auction. Midnight. East Wing. Someone named Volkov. Marcus's hand clamped over my mouth, yanking me backward. She's drunk. Delusional. I apologize for the disturbance. The stranger moved so fast I barely saw it. One moment Marcus had his hand over my mouth. The next he was against the wall with the stranger's forearm pressed to his throat, his feet dangling inches off the ground. Take your hands off her, the stranger said quietly. Now. Marcus released me, choking, his face turning purple. I stumbled away, my back hitting the opposite wall. The few guests in the corridor had vanished, melting away like ghosts. Suddenly, we were alone. Who are you? The stranger demanded. Marcus Reeves. Marcus wheezed. I'm a guest. She's my girlfriend. This is assault. You're a procurer. Not a question. The stranger's lip curled with disgust. And a particularly stupid one if you think you can run a trafficking operation out of Castellano's house without consequences. He leaned closer, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper. Did you honestly not recognize me? Something shifted in Marcus's face, panic replacing indignation. His eyes widened. Oh God, you're Dante Castellano. The stranger smiled, and it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen. Welcome to my home. The blood drained from Marcus's face. Mr. Castellano, there's been a misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding is yours. Dante released him, letting him drop to the floor in a heap. You attempted to sell a woman out of my house during my gala, without my permission or my cut. His eyes glinted with dark amusement. That's just bad business. Two men materialized from nowhere, bodyguards I realized, though I hadn't seen them before. They were both built like tanks, their expressions professionally blank. Take Mr. Reeves to the East Wing, Dante ordered. I believe there's an auction starting soon. Make sure he attends. As inventory, not a vendor. Marcus's protests were cut off as the guards hauled him away. I watched, trembling, unable to process what had just happened. Then Dante turned to me, and I was suddenly very aware that I'd jumped from the frying pan into the fire. This man was a Castellano. The Castellanos, Boston's most powerful crime family. I'd heard whispers about them, seen their name in newspaper headlines about investigations that went nowhere, witnesses who recanted, evidence that disappeared. And I'd just witnessed him commit assault and potentially kidnapping. "What's your name?" he asked, his tone gentler now. "Isabella. Isabella Moretti." My voice shook. "Are you going to kill me?" "Kill you?" He seemed genuinely surprised. "Why would I kill you?" "Because I saw. You just—" I gestured helplessly down the corridor. "I saved you from being sold to Anatoly Volkov, who would have shipped you overseas to work in one of his brothels until you died or became useless to him." Dante adjusted his cuffs with casual elegance. "You're welcome, by the way." The words hit me like a physical blow. Brothels. That's what Marcus had planned for me. 6 months of romance, of making me believe someone finally cared about me, all to deliver me into hell. My legs gave out. Dante caught me before I hit the floor, scooping me up like I weighed nothing. "When was the last time you ate?" "I don't remember." "When was the last time you slept?" "I work 2 jobs. I don't sleep much." He made a disapproving sound, carrying me through a hidden door I hadn't noticed before, down a private hallway to an elevator. "Medical debts?" I blinked at him, surprised. "How did you—" "I heard your boyfriend's sales pitch. 200,000 in medical bills. Your father?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. "What did he die of?" "Cancer. Pancreatic. By the time they caught it." I swallowed hard. "He lasted 6 months. I spent everything trying to save him." The elevator doors opened to a penthouse suite that occupied the entire top floor of the estate. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Boston skyline, the city lights glittering like fallen stars. The furnishings were elegant but comfortable. Leather sofas, thick carpets, a fireplace that could have fit 3 people inside it. Dante set me down on a sofa, then disappeared into another room. He returned with a glass of water and a plate of small sandwiches. "Eat," he commanded, setting them on the coffee table in front of me. "Then we'll talk." I should have been terrified. I was in the private suite of a mafia boss, alone, with no one knowing where I was. But the sandwiches smelled amazing, and I was suddenly ravenous. I ate 3 before I could stop myself, washing them down with the entire glass of water. Dante watched me with those unsettling eyes, one ankle crossed over his knee, perfectly relaxed. He'd removed his jacket, revealing a white dress shirt that probably cost more than my rent. A shoulder holster hugged his ribs, the black grip of a gun just visible. "Better?" he asked when I finished. "Yes, thank you." I set down the glass, my hand steadier now. "What happens now?" "Now we discuss your debt." My heart sank. Of course. Nothing was free, especially not rescue by a crime lord. "I don't have anything to give you. No collateral. No." "I'm not interested in collateral." He leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. "I'm interested in you." The words hung in the air between us, heavy with implication. I thought of the auction, of being sold to Volkov, of the fate that had been planned for me. This man had saved me from that. But what did he want in return? "I don't understand," I whispered. "Your boyfriend was going to sell you for $300,000. Dante said calmly. "I'll pay $400,000. Your father's debts will be cleared, and you'll have $100,000 left over to start fresh. All you have to do is agree to work for me for 2 years." "Work for you?" I searched his face for any hint of deception. "Doing what?" "Whatever I need. You'll live here, in this estate. You'll be safe, protected, provided for. And when the 2 years are up, you walk away free and clear, with your money and your life." His eyes never left mine. Or you can leave right now, and I'll still pay off your debts. No strings attached. Your choice, Isabella. It was too good to be true. Just like Marcus had been too good to be true. Why? I demanded. Why would you do this? What do you really want from me? For the first time, something like respect flickered in Dante's expression. Smart girl. He stood, moving to the windows, his back to me. The truth? I need a wife. I stared at Dante's back, certain I'd misheard him. You need a what? A wife. He turned to face me, his expression unreadable. Temporary. For appearances. This is insane. I stood up, my legs still shaky but functional. You don't even know me. I don't know you. You can't just... Can't I? He tilted his head, studying me like I was a puzzle he was solving. You came here tonight as arm candy for a man who planned to sell you. At least with me, you know the terms up front. The comparison stung because it was true. Why do you need a wife? My father died 3 months ago. Dante moved to a bar cart and poured himself 2 fingers of amber liquid. He didn't offer me any. He left me control of the family business, but there were conditions in his will. One of them is that I must be married within 6 months, or control passes to my uncle Salvatore. And you don't want that. Salvatore is a short-sighted fool who would destroy everything my father built within a year. He took a sip, his jaw tightening. He's also the one who allowed your boyfriend to operate his little trafficking ring on our territory. For a cut, of course. The pieces started falling into place. So shutting down Marcus kills 2 birds with 1 stone. I eliminate my uncle's income stream and find myself a bride. He set down the glass. You're perfect, actually. No family to ask questions or interfere. No connections to our world that might complicate things. And you're desperate enough to consider an offer that any sane woman would refuse. You really know how to sweep a girl off her feet, I said dryly. The corner of his mouth twitched. Almost a smile. I'm not trying to romance you, Isabella. I'm offering you a business transaction. 2 years as my wife. You'll attend events, play the role of devoted spouse, and provide me with the legitimacy I need to maintain control. In exchange, your debts disappear, and you walk away with enough money to build whatever life you want. And what about what you want? Really want? I crossed my arms. There has to be more to it than just appearing married. Perceptive. He moved closer, and I had to tilt my head back to maintain eye contact. He was at least 6'3", maybe taller. My world is dangerous, Isabella. Being my wife will put a target on your back. You'll need to be strong, smart, and willing to do whatever it takes to survive. That includes things that might make you uncomfortable. Like what? Like killing someone if your life depends on it. The words hung between us, cold and final. This wasn't a fairy tale. This was a deal with the devil, and the devil was being honest about the price. I've never even held a gun, I whispered. I'll teach you. He reached out, his fingers brushing my cheek where Marcus's hand had left it red. I'll teach you everything you need to know to survive in my world. And when our time is up, you'll leave stronger than you arrived. I should have said no. Should have walked away. Found another solution to my debts. Rebuilt my life the hard way. But the hard way had led me to Marcus. To this moment. To the realization that I'd been drowning for so long I'd forgotten what breathing felt like. If I agree, I said slowly, I want something else. His eyebrows rose. You're negotiating? You said I was smart. Smart people negotiate. I lifted my chin. I want to know who betrayed me. Your boyfriend already? No. Marcus couldn't have known about my father's debts unless someone told him. I never talked about money with anyone except... My throat tightened. Except Sophie, my best friend. But she wouldn't... Everyone has a price, Piccola. Dante's voice was gentle, almost pitying. Even best friends. Find out for sure, I demanded. If I'm going to be your wife, if I'm going to enter this world, I need to know who I can trust, and I need to know that the people who sold me out face consequences. Something dark and satisfied gleamed in Dante's eyes. Now you're thinking like a Castellano. He extended his hand. Do we have a deal? I looked at his hand. Large, scarred across the knuckles, capable of both violence and gentleness. This was the point of no return. If I took his hand, my old life was over. Isabella Moretti, the girl who worked 2 jobs and believed in love and happy endings, would cease to exist. Maybe that was a good thing. That girl had been naive, weak, easy to manipulate and betray. I placed my hand in his. We have a deal. His fingers closed around mine, warm and strong. Then welcome to the family, Mrs. Castellano. The next morning, I woke up in a bedroom that was larger than my entire apartment. Sunlight streamed through gauzy curtains, and for a moment, I thought the previous night had been a nightmare. Then I saw the diamond ring on my left hand, a massive emerald-cut stone that probably cost more than my father's medical bills, and reality crashed back. I was engaged to a Mafia boss. A knock at the door made me jump. Come in, I called, pulling the silk robe tighter around myself. The pajamas I'd been given were more expensive than any outfit I owned. A woman entered, probably in her 50s, with steel gray hair pulled into a severe bun and sharp eyes that assessed me in one sweep. Good morning, Miss Moretti. I'm Rosa, Mr. Castellano's housekeeper. He's requested your presence for breakfast in 30 minutes. She set a garment bag on the bed. I've taken the liberty of selecting appropriate attire. Thank you. I hesitated. Rosa, can I ask you something? You may ask. Whether I answer depends on the question. I liked her already. How long have you worked for the Castellanos? 32 years. I started as a maid and worked my way up. She smoothed the garment bag. I knew Dante when he was a boy. Watched him become the man he is today. What kind of man is he? Rosa's expression softened slightly. The kind who keeps his word. If he promised you something, he'll deliver. But he's also his father's son, ruthless when necessary, unforgiving of betrayal. She moved toward the door, then paused. He brought you here to protect you, Miss Moretti. Not many people can say that about Dante Castellano. I suggest you remember that. After she left, I opened the garment bag to find a simple but elegant dress in deep blue, along with shoes and accessories that matched perfectly. Everything fit like it had been made for me. I wondered how Dante had known my size, then decided I probably didn't want to know. 30 minutes later, I found my way to a sunlit dining room where Dante sat reading a newspaper, a cup of espresso at his elbow. He'd traded his suit for dark slacks and a white dress shirt with the sleeves rolled up, revealing forearms corded with muscle and marked with scars. He looked up when I entered, his gaze sweeping over me with clinical assessment. Good, you're on time. Sit. I bristled at the command but took the chair across from him. Immediately, a young man appeared with a plate of food: eggs, toast, fresh fruit, bacon. My stomach growled traitorously. Eat, Dante said, returning to his newspaper. We have a busy day. I ate in silence for a few minutes, too hungry to care about the awkwardness. Finally, I asked, what kind of busy? First, we're getting married. I choked on my coffee. Today, I have a judge who owes me a favor. We'll sign the papers this afternoon, make it legal. He turned a page. Tonight, we'll announce our engagement at dinner with my family. The wedding ceremony for show will be in 2 weeks. Enough time to plan something elaborate that will satisfy society's expectations. You have this all figured out. I've been planning since my father's diagnosis 2 years ago. I just needed the right bride. He folded the newspaper and fixed me with that unsettling stare. Which brings me to your request. I found your friend. My heart stopped. Sophie? Sophie Chen, 26, Works as a nurse at Boston General. He slid a folder across the table. She's also been depositing regular payments into her account for the past 6 months, $5,000 a month, from an LLC registered to my uncle Salvatore. I opened the folder with shaking hands. Bank statements, photos, transcripts of text messages. The evidence was damning. Sophie had been feeding information about me to Salvatore's people, helping them target me, set me up with Marcus. Why? The word came out broken. We've been friends since high school. I helped her through nursing school. I was there when her mother died. Why would she? Student loans. Over $200,000. Dante's voice was matter of fact. Your friend was drowning in debt just like you. They offered her a way out, and she took it. I stared at Sophie's smiling face in one of the photos, rage and betrayal burning in my chest. What happens to her now? That depends on you. Dante leaned back in his chair. You're my wife, or you will be in a few hours. That means her fate is in your hands. I can make her disappear, or I can ruin her life legally, or I can simply cut off her payments and let her debt crush her. Your choice. The old Isabella would have forgiven, would have tried to understand, to empathize, to find a way to help Sophie despite the betrayal. But that girl died last night in the corridor of this mansion. Cut off the payments, I said coldly. Let her drown the way she tried to let me drown, but I want her to know why. I want her to know that I know what she did. Dante smiled, and for the first time it reached his eyes. There's hope for you yet, Mrs. Castellano. The courthouse wedding was brief and clinical. The judge, a nervous man who couldn't meet Dante's eyes, rushed through the ceremony in under 10 minutes. I signed my name on the marriage certificate, Isabella Moretti Castellano now, and watched as Dante did the same with bold, confident strokes. Congratulations, the judge mumbled, already gathering his things to leave. May you have a long and happy marriage. Thank you, Your Honor. Dante's tone suggested the judge should leave now, immediately, before something unfortunate happened. The man practically ran from the room. We stood alone in the courthouse chamber, legally married, practically strangers. I need to make a stop before dinner, Dante said, offering me his arm. There's someone you should meet. The someone turned out to be Marcus. Dante took me to a warehouse on the waterfront, the kind of place that showed up in crime scene photos. Inside, the space had been converted into something between a storage facility and a prison. Crates lined the walls, and in the center, tied to a chair, sat my ex-boyfriend. Marcus looked terrible. His expensive suit was torn and dirty, his face bruised, his eyes wild with fear. When he saw me enter with Dante, he began struggling against his bonds. Isabella, thank God. You have to help me. Tell him this is all a misunderstanding. Is it? I walked closer, surprised by how calm I felt. A misunderstanding that you spent 6 months pretending to love me so you could sell me to a sex trafficker? His face crumpled. Baby, please. I didn't have a choice. I owed Salvatore money. He said if I brought him a girl, just one girl, he'd clear my debts. I never wanted to hurt you. I care about you, You're still lying. I crouched down so we were eye level. Even now you're lying. You weren't in debt to Salvatore. He paid you $30,000 as a finder's fee. I saw the contract. Marcus's expression shifted, the mask of remorse falling away to reveal something ugly underneath. So what? You think you're better now? You married him. He jerked his chin toward Dante. He's a monster, a killer. At least with Volkov, you would have been with other girls like you. With him, you're going to end up dead in a ditch somewhere when he gets bored. Dante moved so fast I barely saw it. His fist connected with Marcus's jaw with a sickening crack, snapping his head to the side. Speak about my wife with respect, or I'll remove your tongue. It's fine. I stood, backing away. He's not worth it. On the contrary. Dante straightened his cuffs, his knuckles bloody. He's worth exactly $300,000. That's what Volkov was going to pay for you. So I sold Marcus to him instead. He'll be on a ship to Moscow by morning. The blood drained from Marcus's face. No. No, please. You can't. I can. And I did. Dante wrapped an arm around my waist, pulling me close. You tried to take something of mine. Now you'll spend the rest of your very short life understanding the consequences of that mistake. Marcus's screams followed us out of the warehouse. In the car, I sat in silence, processing what I'd just witnessed. Dante had sold Marcus into the same fate Marcus had planned for me. It was poetic justice. It was horrible. It was exactly what Marcus deserved. Are you going to be sick? Dante asked, glancing at me as he drove. No. I was surprised to realize it was true. I thought I would be, but I'm not. Good. That would be unfortunate for my upholstery. He turned onto the highway. For what it's worth, Volkov won't kill him immediately. He's not wasteful. Marcus will work in one of his operations until he's used up. Could be years. I don't care how long it takes, I said quietly. As long as he suffers. Dante reached over and squeezed my hand. You're going to fit into this family perfectly. The Castellano family estate had a formal dining room that could seat 30 people. Tonight, it seated 8, Dante's inner circle and closest family members. I sat at his right hand, the position of honor for the lady of the house, wearing a blood-red dress that Rosa had selected and a smile that felt painted on. Everyone, Dante said, standing with a glass of wine. I'd like to introduce my wife, Isabella. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. A heavy-set man at the far end of the table, Salvatore, I realized, recognizing him from photos in Dante's files, turned an alarming shade of purple. Your wife? Salvatore sputtered. This is ridiculous. You can't just... I can, and I did. We were married this afternoon. Judge Morrison officiated. Dante's voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. As per Father's will, I am now in full control of all family operations, effective immediately. She's a nobody. Salvatore slammed his hand on the table. Where did you even find her? We know nothing about her family, her background. Her name is Isabella Moretti, Dante said coldly. Her father was Antonio Moretti, who worked as an accountant. Her mother left when she was a child. She has no siblings, no criminal record, and no connections that would compromise our family. In short, she's perfect. I remained silent, letting Dante handle the objections. I'd been coached on this during the drive. Say nothing unless directly addressed. Let Dante establish dominance, and above all, don't show weakness. A beautiful woman with dark hair and cruel eyes leaned forward. And how did you meet this perfect stranger? Carefully, Bianca, Dante warned. Isabella is your new sister-in-law. I expect you to treat her with respect. Of course. Bianca's smile was poisonous. I'm just curious how my dear brother managed to find and marry someone in less than 24 hours. It's almost like... She paused dramatically. Like it was planned. Everything I do is planned. Dante sat down, pulling me closer. His hand found mine under the table, squeezing once. A warning or reassurance, I couldn't tell. Isabella and I met 6 months ago. I've been courting her discreetly. Last night, I proposed. Today, we married. The rest is none of your concern. 6 months ago. The same time Marcus had entered my life. Had Dante been watching me even then? Planning this? The thought should have terrified me. Instead, I felt oddly comforted. At least Dante's manipulation had been in service of protecting me, not destroying me. A toast. A younger man stood up. Dante's cousin Marco, who managed their legitimate business holdings. To Dante and Isabella, may your marriage be long and prosperous. Everyone drank, even Salvatore, though he looked like he was swallowing poison. The dinner proceeded with forced civility. I answered polite questions about my background, careful to stick to the story Dante and I had prepared. Yes, we'd met at a charity event. No, it wasn't love at first sight, but it had grown quickly. Yes, I understood what I was marrying into. That last answer earned me a few surprised looks and one nod of approval from an older woman, Dante's Aunt Lucia. After dessert, Dante stood again. Uncle Salvatore, I need a word, in private. Salvatore's face tightened, but he couldn't refuse without looking weak. They left the room together, and immediately the atmosphere shifted. Bianca pounced. So, Isabella. She circled me like a shark. How much is my brother paying you? I'm sorry? Don't play stupid. Dante doesn't do anything without a reason. He certainly doesn't fall in love like some romantic fool. So how much? 1 million? 2? I met her eyes steadily, channeling every ounce of steel I'd developed over the past 24 hours. Your brother saved me from a very bad situation. What I'm giving him in return is none of your business. A bad situation. Bianca laughed. Let me guess, debt? Criminal boyfriend? Both? God, you're practically a cliché. Bianca, that's enough. Aunt Lucia's voice cracked like a whip. The girl is family now. Show some respect. She's not family. She's a business arrangement that will end the moment Dante gets whatever he really wants from this marriage. Bianca leaned close, her voice dropping to a whisper meant only for me. And when he's done with you, you'll disappear just like all the others who got too close. Remember that, little Isabella? You're not special. You're just convenient. She swept away, leaving me shaking with anger and fear. All the others? How many women had Dante been involved with? And what had happened to them? Don't listen to her, Marco said quietly, appearing at my elbow. Bianca's been bitter since Dante got control instead of her. Our family is traditional in some ways. She's brilliant with numbers and strategy, but she'll never lead because she's a woman. It's made her cruel. Is she right? I asked. About the others? Marco's expression grew guarded. Dante's had relationships. They ended. But no one disappeared or got hurt, if that's what you're asking. My cousin is a lot of things, but he doesn't harm innocents. Before I could press further, Dante returned. One look at his face told me the conversation with Salvatore hadn't gone well. His uncle followed, his expression thunderous, and left without saying goodbye to anyone. Time to go, Dante said, taking my arm. We're leaving. In the car, I waited until we were clear of the estate before asking, what happened? My uncle took exception to some of my new policies. Dante's jaw was tight. Specifically, my decision to shut down all human trafficking operations on our territory. That's good, right? That's millions of dollars in lost revenue. Money that funded legitimate businesses, paid protection to politicians, kept our family powerful. He glanced at me. I'm killing a very profitable stream of income because of you, because of what happened to you. My uncle is not pleased. You're doing it anyway. I'm doing it anyway. He reached over and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. Some things are more important than money, Isabella. I'm beginning to remember that. We arrived back at the mansion, and Dante walked me to my room, still separate from his, I noticed. At the door, he paused. You did well tonight. Better than I expected. Your sister hates me. Bianca hates everyone. Don't take it personally. He hesitated, then said, what she told you about the others? It's none of my business. It is, actually. You're my wife. He stepped closer, and I caught the scent of his cologne, something dark and expensive. There have been women, relationships that served a purpose, or provided pleasure, or both. They ended because they ran their course, not because I harmed them. I need you to believe that. Why? I looked up at him, at this complicated man who'd saved me and married me and turned my world inside out in less than a day. Why does it matter what I believe? Because I keep my promises, Isabella, and I promised you'd be safe with me. That includes safe from me. He traced my jaw with one finger, the touch gentle despite the calluses. I'm not a good man. I've done terrible things, and I'll do worse before my time is done. But I don't lie to the people under my protection. And you're mine now. That means something. He left before I could respond, his footsteps echoing down the hallway. I closed the door and leaned against it, my heart racing. What had I gotten myself into? The answer came the next morning when I woke to find an envelope slipped under my door. Inside was a single photograph. Sophie, sitting in a coffee shop with a man I didn't recognize. They were looking at a tablet, and even from the surveillance photo, I could see financial documents on the screen. A note in Dante's bold handwriting. She's meeting with Salvatore's accountant, trying to get her payments reinstated. Thought you should know. Your move, Mrs. Castellano. I stared at the photo for a long time, then picked up the phone Dante had given me. I had one number programmed in it. He answered on the first ring. Isabella. I want to confront her, I said. Sophie. I want to look her in the eye and tell her what she did to me. A pause. Then, I'll arrange it. But Isabella? You need to be prepared for what comes next. What do you mean? You're not the girl who walked into my house 3 nights ago. Sophie doesn't know that yet. When she finds out, when she realizes who you've become, his voice dropped. There's no going back from that revelation, for either of you. I know. And I did. The old Isabella was gone, burned away in the fire of betrayal and replaced with something harder. Something that could survive in Dante Castellano's world. Set it up. Consider it done. As I hung up, I caught my reflection in the mirror. The woman staring back at me wore expensive clothes and a diamond the size of a grape. Her eyes were cold, her jaw set with determination. Isabella Moretti was dead. Long live Isabella Castellano, and God help anyone who got in her way. The coffee shop Sophie had chosen was in our old neighborhood, a place we used to meet every Sunday morning for lattes and gossip about our lives. I'd cried on her shoulder in one of those corner booths when my father died. She'd held my hand and promised me we'd get through it together. All lies. I arrived 15 minutes early, dressed in clothes that cost more than my old monthly rent. The black leather jacket was butter soft, the designer jeans fit perfectly, and the heels added 3 inches to my height. I looked like money. I looked like power. I looked like someone Sophie wouldn't recognize. But she did. Her eyes widened when I walked in, and I watched the color drain from her face. She started to stand, then sat back down hard, like her legs wouldn't support her. Bella, she breathed, using my old nickname. Oh my God, I've been so worried. I tried calling, but your number's disconnected, and I went by your apartment, but I wasn't there. I slid into the seat across from her, my movements controlled, deliberate. Because I don't live there anymore. Sophie's gaze dropped to my left hand, to the massive diamond catching the light. Her mouth opened, then closed. You're married? 3 days ago. I folded my hands on the table, letting the ring sparkle between us like an accusation. To Dante Castellano, you might have heard of him. All remaining color fled her face. Bella, no, please tell me you didn't. Didn't what? Didn't escape the trafficking ring you sold me to? My voice was pleasant, conversational, but I watched with satisfaction as she flinched. Didn't end up in one of Volkov's brothels overseas? Didn't suffer the fate you helped arrange for me? I don't know what you're talking about. But her hands were shaking, her coffee cup rattling against the saucer. Don't. The word cracked like a whip. Don't insult me by lying. I know about the payments, Sophie. $30,000 over 6 months from Salvatore Castellano's accounts. I know you fed them information about my father's debts, about how isolated I was, how vulnerable. I know you introduced me to Marcus at that charity event, told me he was a good guy, encouraged me to give him a chance. Tears spilled down her cheeks. They said they just wanted to help you, that Marcus would pay off your debts if you married him, that it was a rich guy looking for a wife. Nothing bad. And you believe that? I leaned forward. You're a nurse, Sophie. You're smart. Did you really think some wealthy man needed to buy a bride through back channels? Or did you just not care what happened to me as long as you got your money? I cared. She reached across the table, but I pulled back before she could touch me. Bella, please, I cared. But I was drowning. 200,000 in student loans, my mom's funeral costs, the credit cards. I couldn't breathe. And they offered me a way out. They said it would be good for you too, that you'd be taken care of. I would have been sold to a sex trafficker. Each word was ice. Shipped overseas, worked to death in a brothel. That was the taken care of they meant. Sophie's face crumpled completely. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. They told me Marcus was legitimate, that he'd marry you and pay your debts. When I found out the truth, she wiped her eyes, mascara, streaking. I tried to back out, told them I wouldn't help anymore. But Salvatore said if I didn't keep quiet, he'd kill me. And yet, here you are, meeting with his accountant. I pulled out my phone, showing her the surveillance photo. Trying to get your payments reinstated. That doesn't look like someone who's afraid or remorseful, Sophie. That looks like someone who got greedy. She stared at the photo, then at me. How did you? I'm a Castellano now. We know everything. I stood, looking down at her. Your payments are permanently cut off. Your debt will crush you, just like you tried to let mine crush me. And every time you're struggling to make ends meet, working double shifts, lying awake at night, worrying about money, I want you to remember that this is because of the choice you made. You sold your best friend for $30,000. I hope it was worth it. Bella, please. She grabbed my wrist, desperate. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. I was desperate. You know what that's like. You were desperate too. Please, you have to understand. I do understand. I pulled free of her grip. I understand that when I was desperate, I worked myself to exhaustion trying to find legitimate solutions. And when you were desperate, you sold another human being. We're not the same, Sophie. We never were. I walked out of the coffee shop and didn't look back, even when I heard her sobbing. The old Isabella would have turned around, would have comforted her, probably forgiven her, maybe even tried to help. But the old Isabella was gone. I found Dante in his office, surrounded by ledgers and laptops, managing an empire with the same cold efficiency he brought to everything. He looked up when I entered, his eyes searching my face. How did it go? She cried, apologized, begged for forgiveness. I moved to the window looking out at the grounds. It didn't change anything. Did you expect it to? No. I turned to face him. Is this what your world is always like? Everyone using everyone else? No trust? No loyalty? Just transactions? Dante closed his laptop and stood, moving around the desk to lean against it. In my world, loyalty is everything, but it has to be earned, and it has to be absolute. Your friend's mistake wasn't just betraying you, it was doing it for money from someone who couldn't protect her. If she'd come to me, pledged herself to my family, asked for help with her debts in exchange for genuine service, I would have respected that. But she chose Salvatore, chose the losing side. That's why she's suffering now. You make it sound so simple. It is simple. You choose who you stand with, and you live or die by that choice. He tilted his head, studying me. You chose me. 3 days ago, you could have walked away. I offered you that option, but you didn't. Why? I'd been asking myself the same question. Because you were honest. Marcus lied about who he was, what he wanted. You laid everything out. The danger, the demands, the price. You didn't try to manipulate me into thinking it was something it wasn't. And that was enough? Honesty? That, and I moved closer, drawn by something I couldn't quite name. You were the first person in a long time who made me feel like I had a choice. Real agency. Even when I was trapped, even when you held all the cards, you gave me the option to walk away. No one else did that. Not my father with his illness, not my creditors, not Marcus. Just you. Dante's expression shifted, something warm breaking through the ice. You're stronger than you know, Isabella. Most people would have broken after what happened to you. Instead, you negotiated. You demanded justice. You walked into that coffee shop and faced your betrayer without flinching. He reached out, his hand cupping my jaw. You're extraordinary. My breath caught. We were close now. Close enough that I could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. Close enough to feel the heat radiating from his body. Dante, I told you this was a business arrangement, he said quietly, his thumb tracing my lower lip. And it is. But I'd be lying if I said I wasn't attracted to you. That I haven't been thinking about this since the moment you agreed to be mine. This? Instead of answering, he kissed me. It wasn't gentle. Dante didn't do gentle. His mouth claimed mine with the same decisive authority he brought to everything else. Demanding, consuming, leaving no room for doubt about what he wanted. His hand slid into my hair, tilting my head back, and I gasped against his lips. He took advantage, deepening the kiss, his tongue sliding against mine in a way that made heat pool low in my belly. I grabbed his shirt, needing something to anchor me as the world tilted. This was nothing like kissing Marcus, those performative displays of affection that felt rehearsed. This was real, raw, overwhelming. Dante's other hand found my waist, pulling me flush against him. I could feel every hard plane of his body, the gun holster under his arm, the coiled strength in his muscles. He was dangerous, deadly, and I was kissing him like I needed him to breathe. When he finally pulled back, we were both breathing hard. His eyes had gone molten, his usual control fraying at the edges. That, he said roughly, is what I've been thinking about. I should have stepped back. Should have reminded him this was supposed to be professional, temporary, a means to an end. Instead, I heard myself say, "Why did you wait 3 days?" "Because I wanted you to choose it." His hand was still in my hair, his forehead resting against mine. "Everything else in your life has been decided for you, forced on you. I wanted this to be different. I wanted you to want me. And if I don't, then I'll wait until you do, or until our 2 years are up and you walk away." He pressed a kiss to my forehead, tender in a way that made my chest ache. "I told you I keep my promises, Isabella. That includes the promise that you're safe here, even from me, especially from me." I looked up at him, this complicated man who'd saved me and married me and just kissed me like I was oxygen. "What if I don't want to be safe from you?" Something fierce and possessive flashed in his eyes. Then we're both in trouble. He kissed me again, slower this time, but no less intense. His hands roamed my back, learning my curves, while mine explored the solid muscle of his shoulders and chest. I'd never felt desire like this, sharp and urgent and terrifying in its intensity. When we broke apart this time, Dante's control had visibly cracked. His breathing was ragged, his hair messed from my fingers, his expression almost vulnerable. "We should stop," he said, but he didn't let me go. "Why?" "Because if we don't, I'm going to carry you upstairs to my bedroom and make you mine in every sense of the word." His voice dropped to a growl. "And I don't think you're ready for that yet." He was right. I wasn't. 3 days ago, I'd been living in a studio apartment, working 2 jobs, believing I was in love with a man who was planning to sell me. Now, I was married to a mafia boss, living in a mansion, and wanting him with an intensity that scared me. "You're right," I admitted, stepping back. Immediately, I missed his warmth. "We should take this slow." "Slow," Dante agreed, though his eyes said he wanted anything but. "We have 2 years after all. No need to rush." But as I left his office on shaky legs, my lips still tingling from his kiss, I wondered if 2 years would be enough. Or if I was already falling for the devil who'd saved me. And if that made me the biggest fool of all. 2 weeks passed in a blur of preparations. Rosa orchestrated everything with military precision. Dress fittings, menu tastings, floral arrangements, seating charts. The wedding was supposed to look like a grand love story, the culmination of a whirlwind romance between Boston's most eligible bachelor and his mysterious bride. Only Dante and I knew the truth. Well, Dante, me, and apparently half of Boston's underworld, who watched our every move with speculation and suspicion. I felt their eyes on me at every event Dante dragged me to: charity galas, business dinners, family gatherings. They were waiting for me to slip up, to prove I didn't belong in their world. I was determined not to give them the satisfaction. "Stand still," the seamstress mumbled around a mouthful of pins, adjusting the hem of my wedding dress for the third time. The gown was a masterpiece, ivory silk that hugged my curves before flowing into a cathedral train, with delicate lace sleeves and a neckline that was elegant without being revealing. It probably cost more than I'd earned in my entire life before Dante. "It's beautiful," Rosa said from her perch on the sofa, watching the fitting with approval. "You'll be the most stunning bride Boston has seen in years." "It's just for show," I reminded her, though my reflection in the three-way mirror told a different story. The woman staring back at me looked like she belonged in this dress, in this life. Like she'd been born to wear diamonds and silk instead of thrift store clothes and worry. "Is it?" Rosa's knowing eyes met mine in the mirror. "I've seen the way he looks at you, child, and the way you look at him. That's not for show." I thought about the kiss in his office 2 weeks ago. We hadn't repeated it, though the tension between us had grown thick enough to cut with a knife. Dante was keeping his word, letting me set the pace. But every brush of his hand against mine, every heated glance across the dinner table, promised that when I was ready, he would be too. "It's complicated," I said finally. "Love usually is." Rosa stood, smoothing her skirt. "Especially in this family, but complicated doesn't mean wrong." Before I could respond, the door burst open and Bianca swept in, her expression sour. "The caterers need final approval on the menu, the florist is having a crisis about the centerpieces, and Aunt Lucia wants to know if you've finalized the guest list for—" She stopped, seeing me in the dress. For just a moment, something like envy flashed across her face, before the mask of disdain returned. "Well, at least you'll photograph well." "Thank you, Bianca. That's almost a compliment." Her eyes narrowed. "Don't get comfortable, little Isabella. This fairy tale has an expiration date. 2 years, if I remember correctly." "You seem very interested in my marriage for someone who claims not to care." "I care about my family's reputation. This circus of a wedding is costing us millions that could be better spent elsewhere. All for a bride who'll be gone before the ink dries on the prenup." She moved closer, her voice dropping. "Has he told you about the prenup? Clause 17 is particularly interesting. It stipulates that if the marriage ends for any reason before the 2-year mark, you get nothing. Not the debt payoff, Not the money he promised. Nothing. My stomach dropped, but I kept my expression neutral. I'm aware of the terms. Are you? Because Clause 17 also states that the marriage can be annulled if you fail to fulfill your wifely duties. Her smile was poisonous, and we both know this marriage hasn't been consummated. One word from Dante and you're back where you started. Probably worse, since now you've seen things, know things. People who know too much about our family tend to have unfortunate accidents. That's enough. Rosa's voice cracked like thunder. Get out, Bianca, now. Bianca laughed, heading for the door. Just making sure the bride knows what she's signed up for. Wouldn't want any surprises on her wedding day. She paused in the doorway. Oh, and Isabella? My brother may be playing the devoted husband, but don't forget. He's done this before. Gotten close to a woman, made her fall for him, then discarded her when she was no longer useful. Ask him about Valentina sometime. See if he tells you the truth. She left, and I stood frozen in my wedding dress, Bianca's words echoing in my mind. I found Dante in the gun range beneath the estate. The underground facility was state-of-the-art, soundproofed and equipped with targets at various distances. He stood at the firing line, methodically putting bullets through the center of a paper target 50 yards away. He didn't acknowledge my presence, just emptied the magazine with deadly precision, then set down the gun and turned to face me. You heard. It wasn't a question. Who's Valentina? He removed his ear protection, his expression unreadable. Someone I knew a long time ago. Bianca said you got close to her, made her fall for you, then discarded her when she was no longer useful. I crossed my arms. She also mentioned a prenup clause that would leave me with nothing if this marriage ends early or isn't consummated. Were you planning to tell me about that? The prenup was filed with our marriage license. You had access to it. He moved to the weapons locker, securing the gun. But yes, I should have explained it more clearly. The clause exists to protect the family. If you decide to leave before the 2 years are up, or if you betray us, you forfeit the payment. And the consummation requirement? Standard in arranged marriages within our world. It prevents someone from claiming the marriage was never real, using that as leverage for blackmail or legal action later. He faced me fully. But I told you from the beginning, I won't touch you until you want me to. That clause only applies if you refuse. If I force you or coerce you, it's void. The prenup protects you too, Isabella. Not just my family. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. But Bianca's words had planted seeds of doubt that were growing rapidly. And Valentina? Dante's jaw tightened. She was someone I cared about. 6 years ago, before my father got sick, we were together for almost a year. What happened? She tried to kill me. He said it matter-of-factly, like he was discussing the weather. Turned out she was working for the Bratva, Russian mob. They sent her to seduce me, learn our operations, then put a bullet in my head when I was vulnerable. She almost succeeded. Got close enough to shoot me twice before my guards stopped her. He unbuttoned his shirt, revealing 2 circular scars on his chest, just left of his heart. She had good aim. 2 inches to the right, and she would have succeeded. I stared at the scars, my anger deflating. What happened to her? What do you think happened? His voice was cold. She tried to murder me. She paid the price. Did you love her? I thought I did. But it was a lie. Everything about her was a lie. He rebuttoned his shirt, his movements precise. That's why I told you the truth from the start, Isabella. Why I laid out exactly what this marriage was and wasn't. I'm not going to pretend to love you, manipulate your feelings, then pull the rug out. What you see is what you get. And what happens if... I hesitated, then forced myself to continue. What happens if what I feel becomes real? If it stops being just a business arrangement? Dante went very still. What are you saying? I'm saying that kiss in your office wasn't just attraction. I met his eyes. I'm saying that every day I spend in this house, in this life, with you, I feel myself changing, becoming someone different. Someone who might actually want this to be more than temporary. He crossed the distance between us in 3 strides, his hands framing my face. Isabella, you're confused. It's Stockholm Syndrome or gratitude or don't. I grabbed his wrists. Don't tell me what I'm feeling. I've had enough people do that. Marcus told me I loved him. Sophie told me she was my friend. Everyone's been telling me what I should feel, who I should be. But you're the only one who's been honest with me, so I'm being honest with you. I don't know what this is yet, but it's real. And it's terrifying. His eyes searched mine, looking for doubt, for deception. Finally, he said, 2 years, Isabella. That's what we agreed. At the end, you walk away with your money and your freedom. Don't throw that away for something that might not last. What if I don't want to walk away? Then we'll talk about it when the time comes. He pressed his forehead to mine. But not now. Not when you're still processing trauma, still adjusting to this world. I won't take advantage of that. I won't be another Marcus. You're nothing like Marcus, aren't I? I married you for my own purposes. I'm using you to maintain control of my family. The fact that I'm honest about it doesn't make it less manipulative. His hands dropped away. Go upstairs, Isabella. The wedding is in 3 days. After that, we'll be bound in every way that matters. But I need you to be sure. Really sure. Because once we cross that line, there's no going back. I left him in the gun range, his words echoing in my mind. He was right. I was confused. Still adjusting, possibly mistaking gratitude for something deeper. But as I climbed the stairs to my room, I couldn't shake the feeling that Dante was wrong about one thing. We'd already crossed the line. The moment I'd said I do in that courthouse. The moment I'd kissed him back in his office. The moment I'd chosen to stay instead of running. The question wasn't whether we could go back. It was whether we'd survive what came next. The night before the wedding, I couldn't sleep. I wandered the mansion in silk pajamas, walking familiar halls that still felt foreign. I found myself outside Dante's room, my hand raised to knock, before I lost my nerve and continued walking. I ended up in the library, surrounded by books worth more than most people's houses. I was running my fingers along leather spines when I heard footsteps. Can't sleep either? Dante appeared in the doorway, wearing only sleep pants, his chest bare. The scars from Valentina's betrayal were visible in the lamplight, along with others I'd never noticed, a life written in violence across his skin. Too much on my mind. Wedding jitters? He moved into the room, keeping a respectful distance. Something like that. I turned to face him. Dante, tomorrow, when we take those vows in front of everyone, will any of it be true? What do you mean? The part about cherishing, honoring, loving. Will any of it mean something to you? Or is it all just performance? He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Come here." I crossed to him, and he pulled me close, his arms wrapping around me. I pressed my ear to his chest, hearing his heartbeat. Steady, strong, real. "I can't promise you love," he said quietly. "I'm not sure I'm capable of it anymore, but I can promise that I'll protect you. I'll provide for you. I'll be faithful to you for as long as we're married. And I'll never, ever lie to you. Is that enough?" I tilted my head back, looking up at him. For now. Then I kissed him. And this time, I wasn't holding back. This time, I poured everything into it. My fear, my hope, my growing feelings that I couldn't quite name. His arms tightened around me, and for a moment, everything else fell away. Tomorrow, I'd become Mrs. Castellano in front of Boston's elite. But tonight, In this library, I was just Isabella, and that was enough. The end. Please subscribe for more.